You are watching NovaNow.tv, independent community media for Northern Virginia.
Hello, friends. Sam Ettaro coming to you for NovaNow.tv. And today I just wanted to introduce to you 4 raw clips that I gathered after the now infamous July 15th FCPS school board meeting. I am not, as I had originally planned, going to conduct any sort of analysis on the issues. I have plans in the future to launch my own show, and I hope to engage with our audience here in Nova in conducting vibrant online discussions, interview sessions, and even debates, if civil debates these days are even still possible. I believe they are, and it was with that mindset of tolerance, to use a term that's being thrown around a lot these days, and respect for others, I decided to exercise my right as an American to get out into my new community now that our towns are opening up and I can safely grab my little camera and head on out and meet people and share the stories that I find fascinating, interesting, engaging, educational, and sometimes even fun. So I decided to go on down to the FCPS school board meeting, showed up late, really didn't put on, I wouldn't say a journalist hat. I was just representing myself as what I am, rather centrist, libertarian-leaning, free American, exercising my right to point the camera at folks and engage in some sort of meaningful dialogue. I had the intention, which I believe I accomplished, of having rather interesting interviews and coming away with 4 clips that offer differing perspectives on the issues that were being brought forth in this now infamous meeting. I then struggled with what to do with this footage after the reporting came out in the next day or so, because I had missed the rallies before the meeting. I wanted to show up at the rallies and conduct interviews there, but I was not able to make it. Showed up actually quite late into the FCPS school board meeting, captured what I could, and managed to get, as I said, 4 interviews, which I'm going to share with you right now. Now, why did I have some sort of quandary? Why did I pause and give this almost a week before releasing this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Nova Now is a new platform, and I am a new citizen of Nova. I've only been here for just about a little over a year, and I'm very new, know very few people. And this is a big step for me to step out and to launch this new platform in such a volatile environment, knowing that just putting the American flag behind me in the red, white, and blue is going to offend somebody, myself, in the way that I speak. Perhaps the words that I choose, most likely the opinions that I espouse, are going to offend many. But you know what? I've reached a point where, as somebody with some resources and a cool home studio and the ability to get out on the streets and meet people and engage in meaningful, deep conversation across the spectrum, I think that's something that I have the capability of doing, and I set out to do that this night. Again, I believe mission accomplished. You're going to see the footage here in a second, but why did I pause? Well, I was excited about offering an opinion on what happened that night and offering a rather centrist, objective viewpoint. And then this happened.
I am Michelle Lee, the very proud first vice president of Fairfax County NAACP. So let's meet and remain steadfast in speaking truth, tearing down double standards, and refuting double talk. Let's not allow any double downing on lies. Let's prepare our children for a world they deserve. Let's deny this off-key band of people that are anti-education, anti-teacher, anti-equity, anti-history, anti-racial reckoning, anti-opportunities, anti-help people, anti-diversity, anti-platform, anti-science, anti-change agent, anti-social justice, anti-healthcare, anti-worker, anti-LGBT+, anti-children, anti-healthcare, anti-worker, anti-environment, anti-emissions policy change, anti-inclusion, anti-live and let live people. Let them die. Don't let these uncomfortable people Don't let these uncomfortable people deter us from our bold march forward. Thank you.
I'm just going to say this, as an American who cherishes freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and will defend anybody's right to say and speak their mind, I will say this person stepped far over the line. And it really made me incredibly sad to see that happen. And then on top of it, the defense of what she said that was launched through the media and by her own organization, the NAACP. Now, as we know, the PTA organization did ask for her resignation, and she did the right thing, and she stepped down because what she said was abhorrent. I mean, let's face it. Had those words come out of somebody on the other side, we know what the results would have been. So back to my question as to what should I do with this footage? Well, here's why I bring that up. Because one of the individuals that I interviewed, and we had a really nice conversation. It was really kind. A lot of talk about tolerance, respect for everybody's opinion, everybody being able to be welcome and feel secure and safe. We know the line. We hear it a lot in these school board meetings and in those that are decidedly coming from, I would say, to use the terms of the day, coming from the left on these issues, the left perspective on these issues. To see one of the individuals that I was willing and wanted to give this new platform to. I wanted to give this new platform to several viewpoints from across the spectrum, left, right, and in the middle. And I was willing to do that. And I went out there with that intention. And then to see one of the folks that I was interviewing standing in front of Michelle Lee and clapping in response to her hateful tirade. That really gave me pause. And I thought to myself, can I really in good conscience give these individuals who speak out of both sides of their mouth as such an unedited voice on my new platform? And I struggled with that. And I paused and I thought and I prayed on this and I thought, how can I put this piece together and not in one way or another offend a great swath of my potential new audience here in Nova, being a brand new individual, brand new face, and a brand new independent media platform. I didn't want to be pigeonholed. I thought, I'm going to come out of the gate and be fair and reasonable. And then I saw that, and it broke my heart, and it caused me pause, because I thought, you know what? Somebody that would clap for such words, I do not want to give my platform to. But then I thought, if I do that, you know what? I'm no better than those in the mainstream media and big tech that are censoring anybody who has an opposing view. Openly, vehemently, passionately, gleefully demonizing and censoring anyone with an opposing viewpoint. If I shut down that interview that I promised to air unedited, which I did, if I shut that down, I'm no better than they are. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not going to do that. So, being a man of integrity, holding to my values, believing in freedom of speech, I'm not going to judge. Ultimately, there's a judge above, and everybody's going to have to, at one point, account for their words, their actions, and what is in their heart. And what was in my heart was the good people of Nova that I serve, that I'm giving this platform to. And my intention to go there that night, ask questions, get to know people, dig a little bit deeper, and give people a voice, whether I agree with them or not. So, that said, I'm going to hold to my principles, and I'm going to air for you, unedited, the interviews that I conducted that evening after the school board meeting with 4 individuals. I'm going to put the lower third graphics down. You can dig in to their groups and or organizations and or Facebook pages and or YouTube videos, and you can go out and you can watch them speak in person, and you can make your own judgment as to their take on the issues that are important to you. And that's my plan for this. So I'm going to roll that tape. Before I do that and play these interviews unedited, I want to invite you to come on the show, because this is a pretty cool new platform. And while I do intend to go out into our communities and do man on the street or woman on the street or whoever on the street interviews, I also intend to have some fun and get out and conduct myself as a musician, as an artist, as an avid outdoorsman. I want to get out and explore Nova and the wonderful communities that make up this amazing region. Not just covering politics, but one of the things I'm very excited about is my new show, where I will unleash the E, as they say, and give my opinion and do more op-ed. One thing I can say, you may not agree with me. You may not like how I say what I say. But when you come and you see my face on the screen, you will know that I am being honest with you. And I will give you a fair shake. So, if you want to, come on the show, as our friend here, Sue, in virtual. You want to come on and join me in live time, you can do so. I would be honored to host you in a live interview on our new talk show that is upcoming. And if you would like to have a panel discussion and say engage in a debate, we can do that as well. So, I am who I am, and I am Sam Ettaro, and this is Nova Now. And I would love to hear from you. I would love to exchange ideas and engage in conversation, debate, and learn about you, your world, your corner of Nova. And I hope that you have an open mind and are willing to do the same. And do so with a kindness in your heart, love, and appreciation for humanity and for the amazing God that gave us this ability to communicate in this way. So that said, I am going to go ahead and roll the first cut. And we're going to follow up with the other 3 interviews. But first, what I'm going to do is play 3 of the individuals gave testimony at the school board meeting. So I'm going to play what they said at the school board meeting during public comment, and then I'm going to play the interviews that I scored with them afterwards, unedited in their entirety. The 4th interview, which I'll play at the end, the subject of the interview, the interviewee, my interviewee, did not speak at the school board meeting. So I will play that interview in its entirety, and you folks can dig in from there and be the judge. Again, thank you so very much for watching Nova Now TV. Like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're an independent producer or a citizen journalist on your own, or you have a vision for your own show and you would like to maybe partner with me to lend your talents to Nova Now TV, we would love to hear from you. Contact me via our website or via our Facebook page. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you for letting me be honest with you, for listening and letting me pour my heart out to you, because this is important to me. We live in a critical time. We can go so many different ways here as a culture, and I know what I believe, and that is going to come out in time as I show my face and show my art and show the things that are important to me and speak my voice and speak my truth. That will be unambiguous, and you will know where I stand. That said, for right now, I'm going to give this platform to others, as I promised I would. You're watching NovaNow.tv, independent media coverage for Northern Virginia. I'm Sam Ettaro. I'm out. Peace.
Parents have turned to you in the past year and a half for leadership in their children's education, and you have failed at every turn. Returning children to school in person, honest communications with parents, masking little children, denying special education services, destroying admissions to TJ. You have failed to prepare employees, support students, and listen to parents. In fact, tonight you are going to suppress parents' voices even further by cutting citizen participation. This move is shameful. It furthers the distrust that you have built, that you have wrought in the parent community in Fairfax County. It is anti-student, it is anti-parent, and it is anti-democracy. Your woke ideology, embedding critical race theory to the tune of over $700,000 and counting, compelled CRT professional development, renaming schools, eliminating meritocracy, rewriting curriculum, and driving the agenda of CRT theorists like Ibram Kendi at $44,000 of taxpayer money, for which you refuse to release the content, is fomenting hate and division. It teaches children that the merits in society are valued based on their skin color. Again, this is shameful action on your part. You have denied children access to desperately needed services, special education services, canceling ESY and recovery services. You yanked the rug out from underneath parents with days' notice, and the most vulnerable of our children are harmed by your persistent failures. Children have been harmed. Families have been harmed by your catastrophic lack of leadership. Finally, school begins in 6 weeks, 5 weeks really. There's no return to school plan. I get emails from teachers and administrators about your failure to provide any guidance. It persists. It's been a year and a half, and you still give no guidance to your employees. Over 40,000 employees are waiting for you to stand up and lead. All parents are waiting for you to stand up and lead. Your focus on hiring a New York-based consultant shows where your priorities are. You are promoting policies which devalue, demoralize, and divide. You have mowed over parents, ignored student needs, and attacked merit and flouted accountability to taxpayers. If anything is broken in this system, it is because of you. It is a single-minded lack of diversity of thought on this board and all the boards that came before it.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker.
Can you tell us your name, what brought you out here tonight, and if there's anything else that you would like to add?
Sure. My name's Elizabeth Schultz. I'm a former 2-term Fairfax County School Board member, and then I went and worked in the U.S. Department of Education as the Deputy Director of the Office of Educational Technology. And I came out tonight because, frankly, I have a lot of FCPS employees, teachers, administrators, support staff, who have come and said that they feel that the professional development that is being compelled on them is very divisive. They sense a huge change in the school system since the arrival of this new school board. They profess diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is not about diversity, equity, or inclusion. And I really think we're in a terrible point where the pressure of a lack of focus on the academic excellence and the needs of individual students, and I mean all students who are, at the poverty level and need particular help, special education students, certainly, that is a passion of mine, and general education students, the kids that are sometimes lost in the middle, and certainly the advanced academics, that there is a complete attack on meritocracy, a complete lack of support for the needs of the individual student. And because the school board is so focused on social justice warrioring and renaming schools and rewriting curriculum, they don't see the needs of the students before them and supporting the employees who are meant to serve them, not fulfill an ideology that they are pursuing. And so we're really losing focus in Fairfax County on excellent education and the needs of students and families, and mowing over them by a unanimity in the school board on thought, on every action, on their pursuit of an agenda that has nothing to do with what a school board should be focused on, which is the academic needs of children.
Excellent points. The Ibram X. Kendi story, I've been following this and digging into this as well and looking more into him. I found your comment interesting that they refused to release the content of that training.
Yes.
How is that legal to do so?
Well, I think people are pursuing the notion that a school board can spend $44,000 on a 1-hour, conversation that was taped with Ibram Kendi and a purchase of his books, which then turns into compelled professional development, because where are those books going? That's a read that's required of teachers and administrators. And why isn't that being released? What are they hiding? This is a major problem in that you can say, I will take your tax dollars and I will implement my ideology, and oh, by the way, you don't get to see any of the material that's behind it.
Has that been FOIA'd?
I believe it has been FOIA'd and it's been denied.
Under what grounds?
Under grounds that it is like copyrighted material.
That his speech is copyrighted material.
Right. Which it's paid for with taxpayer dollars and it's delivered to taxpayers. Remember, public school is public school with public money for public benefit. So if they're hiding something that isn't a legal, it's not legal advice or, the discipline of a student or employee matters. This is guiding principle and policy that is driving their decision making and driving it's not strategic, it's a lack of strategy. And that's a huge problem. It's a huge lack of accountability and transparency, as is the motion that they're going to take tonight, which is to reduce citizen participation from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. They're trying to silence parents. They're trying to silence employees. And that is not okay. That is not okay in a public school system to minimize the role and the voice of the people that you are supposed to represent.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add? That was wonderful.
Well, I just, you saw a lot of self-congratulations of self-laudatory behavior that took an hour and 30 minutes before we even got to citizen participation. When I was first on the board, I, with great effort, moved citizen participation, which was towards the end of a meeting, to the beginning, because they wanted to punish parents. They said, well, if they're going to talk to us, then they should have to listen to our business. And this is the inverse of the organization chart, of not understanding we are not in charge. The people are in charge. Those school board members work for and should be public servants with a public heart to serve the people who elected them. But they have inverted it to the superintendent's in charge, they're going to figure it all out later, and everybody else gets to stay cloaked in the dark by their opaque actions. And that's a problem, and it's time for parents and taxpayers in Fairfax County to stand up and say, we're not going to take this anymore.
Elizabeth, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
Good to meet you. I'll be in touch.
Okay, absolutely.
Our final video is Robert Rigby.
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Braybrand, leadership team, wonderful clerks and community, parents, guardians, siblings, family members, and students. My name is Robert Rigby. This is my 22nd or 23rd year testifying to the board. I'm co-chair of an organization called Fairfax County Public Schools Pride, which is an LGBTQ plus stakeholders and allies for our school system. I just wanted to say thank you, especially to the school board, for all the work that you've done for my community. And for those on the previous board, the tremendous work against odds that you did for us. There's been some animosity. We've seen it in Augusta County, in the Valley, in Warren County, by the mountains, and in neighboring Loudoun, of course. In years past, we've seen equivalent animosity and meanness at school board meetings. That's why FCPS Pride came into existence 6 years ago, to raise a voice of reason and civility against that. Anyway, just thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for the work that you're doing tonight. It's important work, and for what we're going to do in the future. All the communities come together, but it's the school board that's taken the heat to do it. I hope by this time this airs on Thursday, we haven't seen that sort of animosity in this room. We've had the KKK flyers in the community, but I hope it doesn't come in here, because it comes in here, it trickles down to the schools. A plug, of course, for the Pride Liberation Project. There really are student voices that have never been raised, at least in my time, in this forum. So listen to them, talk to them, respond to them, do some of what they ask. A final thing, I think your changes to the sign-up process are tremendous. They opened it up to everybody. You don't have to get up at 6:45 or be privileged to be part of an organized group. Our group may get less spots, but we're really excited that everyone will get a spot. As Dr. Hampton said, the voices, the people that most need to be heard at the school board now have a better chance of speaking and being heard here. Have a great evening and recess. Goodbye.
So tell us a little bit about your agency.
We're an organization officially recognized by Human Resources for LGBTQIA plus employees, parents and family of LGBTQIA plus students, and LGBTQIA plus parents and graduates. Here we're Fairfax focused, only Fairfax County Public Schools. We started in 2015 in response to the big, really unpleasant meeting when they added gender identity to the non-discrimination policy. There was a meeting like there was in Loudoun a few weeks ago, and we organized to bring people together, to be ready for that, but also socially. So we do coffee houses, and we have our barbecue in October. we have social events for, and bringing those groups together. So that's what we've done. We're an FCPS focused LGBTQI and everyone.
And I'm relatively new to Nova.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned an unpleasant meeting. In previous years, the gentleman up there described a lot of the folks that were at the Loudon meeting as extremist. If you would, you are acquainted with those that are in opposition to your view. Can you explain, do you see those that are in opposition to your view as extremists?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about a school board member using that terminology? How does that?
He's the student rep. He's the student rep. He represents students. He's welcome to use whatever words he'd like. He has free speech like everybody else.
Of course.
He seems like a great guy. For myself, I tend to avoid words like extremist and bigot and hate. And such, partly because I have some folks who do disagree with LGBTQIA people, which I don't approve of. How can you disagree? It's like disagreeing with air or something. I think people can change their minds and their outlook. I have in my lifetime. I have an open door and an open heart to people who disagree.
So from somebody, what would your message be to anybody that's watching this that is in disagreement with, say, the policy that was passed here tonight?
Get to know LGBTQIA people. Get to know parents of LGBTQIA people with an open mind, without debating and challenging, because no one needs a debate in their life. Get to know, not a few people, not 2 or 3 people, hundreds. Open your mind and get to know people. I think you'll realize people are people.
Sure. So you said without debating or challenging?
Well, I mean, don't go to a meeting of queer people and argue with them.
Okay. So being confrontational is one thing. But civil discourse and agreeing to disagree, you're in favor of?
It depends.
Okay.
If it's a place for discourse and debate, yes, discourse and debate. If it's a coffee house where we're getting together to enjoy one another's company, don't come in and debate.
Understood.
Then, when it's appropriate. Here's the time for debate and discourse.
And we heard some of that tonight.
We may set up a time for people to do that. We're so small, low budget organization. That may be more the responsibility of FCPS and larger and other organizations.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you giving me a word. Can I get your name and spell it for me so I can make sure that the title is correct and your organization? Robert
N. Rigby Jr., ROBERT, and RIGBY, comma, JR period.
Got it.
The organization is Fairfax County Public Schools Pride.
Okay, got it.
Speaker is Sue Zoldak.
I'd like to take this time to wish you all a great summer break, as this may be the last time we see each other, since tonight you are voting or considering whether to change the citizen participation rules. Perhaps you think your proposal has the appearance of fairness to have speakers selected at random. That may seem on the surface to be fair to anyone that isn't familiar with how unions think. Did your friends give you this idea? A union can send an email to 1,000 members asking everyone to sign up to be chosen at random, and if chosen, read from a set script that they also send out. If a singular parent has a new perspective that has to do with their real-life experience, they now have a 1 in 1,000 chance of being heard. Your so-called random system gives power to those who have the most power already and strips power away from the very people who are least represented. As each organized group grows more powerful, as the audience shows here by their concerted actions, your system rewards the groups more and more, and the minority standalone parent less and less. One could even use the word systematic bias. I thought we didn't like that concept. If that's a legacy you want to leave here this final day by installing systematic bias mathematically into the system, go for it. What I've learned is really how little you understand how your actions actually feel to the families you represent. It is amazing month after month, I've watched you parrot ridiculously partisan ideology and union talking points, all the while claiming in your emails that you're here to represent your constituents. We all know your job is hard, harder than it looks, it's tireless, it's thankless, etc. But if you don't like your job, please just step aside. It is shocking that you stand up here and pretend to talk about diversity when we get emails at Do Better FCPS every day from teachers. I reiterate, teachers, your staff. I know you guys don't like to look me in the eye, which I will just step aside from my comments and say my most frequently asked question is, what is it like to stand up here and talk to you? And I always say, nobody looks me in the eye. They can't even. They are tired of being represented by a board that acts if the union, it thinks that they're the majority. Kimberly knows that she's not the majority. You make statements that are out there stating, why are there so many partisan attacks against us? The only reason there's any partisanship out here in the conversation is because you are partisan up there. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and it is us reacting to you. We hope that as we move forward into a new school year, there will be a conscious change, starting with the priorities that have been our stated mission statement since day one. Accountability, that means enforcing the actual rules that you have on staff and with each other. Transparency, that means good communication, which I think you've heard many times is lacking. Actually, parent input, better leadership, and most of all, prioritizing an quality education. So I'm the founder of a group called Do Better FCPS, and we were founded in April of 2020 because we felt like the Fairfax County School Board did not have a proper response as a $3.2 billion organization to the online distance learning, to the pandemic. And since then, as I stated inside, our mission has just been about transparency and accountability for running a $3.2 billion enterprise and wanting the school board to focus on a higher quality education. Because we have stated that, and because the board themselves are so partisan, they have painted our efforts as being anti their efforts as being partisan themselves, and therefore painting us as partisan. We don't use the word woke. We don't use any of these partisan words in anything that we say whatsoever. The parents that support us, they are from all different cultures, all different religions, all different political backgrounds. They are staff, they are teachers, and it has nothing to do with politics except for they want the school board to stop talking about politics.
How would you define what is happening? How would you define it?
I think that for a long time, the school board has been allowed to do whatever it is they want. They have felt like these jobs are their pet projects and that they can be elected as a quote-unquote nonpartisan, but then go ahead and do whatever it is they want with no accountability because no one paid them any attention. But what happened, the silver lining, the only silver lining really with COVID, is that parents started to pay attention. And we thought, oh my God, how can we have a school system that hasn't updated students' software in 3 years? And, classrooms are getting attacked. We are cyber ransom for $4 million. We wasted $40 million in Bitcoin actually, wasted $4 million on paper packets that every parent, threw away. These are not partisan issues. These are just about waste and accountability as taxpayers. And for too long, these school board members are just, they want to buy solar panels. They want to buy electric trucks. They want to focus on, issues that they think will make them good
party leaders for the Fairfax Democrats so they can move on to higher office. They don't actually care one bit about our students.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. What are your thoughts on Elizabeth Schultz had made mention about the training, the equity and inclusion training that's been going on? Of course, all through the news, we don't need to get into that deeply, but I thought it was interesting that she pointed out the content of Ibram X. Kendi's training last year that was tens of thousands of dollars was spent on that. And she said that they have refused to release the content of that based upon that his talk is copyrighted material.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, so it was in his contract, which was run through Scholastic, that his talk not be recorded. And so therefore, Fairfax County doesn't even have a copy of it. He actually simulcast that talk, to my knowledge, to another organization at the same time, so we didn't even get his undivided attention, and that may be why the contract is written that way, because he may also be responding to another organization's questions at the same time. I don't know, but that is to say he earned not $40,000 an hour, but $80,000 an hour for that hour-long or 40-minute speech. What is most troubling to me and to our group is that professional development for teachers now falls, that entire $8 million budget now falls underneath the chief equity officer. In other words, there is no just standard professional development budget for teachers.
And what does that mean in real terms? Put that in
it means
to your
that,
average parent out there.
It means that we have teachers contacting us going, I haven't had normal professional development about my subject matter expertise in years.
So you believe that you're hearing from teachers that the training and the professional development is not focused on making them better teachers, but rather delivering ideological standards.
Correct. And we hear this often, but again, we are blocked at every chance that we ask, can we see teacher development materials? Are we allowed as taxpayers to be privy to how you're training teachers? They say we have to FOIA it. If we FOIA it, they charge us by the hour. Their legal fees, these FOIAs cost thousands of dollars. So again, we just ask, why as taxpayers are we paying their salaries, paying to fund the school, and then having to pay to see what materials they are producing with our own tax dollars? What are they trying to hide? Why can't we see where teachers go for professional training? And why do we have teachers coming to us and saying, my last 3 professional development days that you see on the school calendar had to do with equity and diversity? And I'm not saying that that's not an important topic. I'm a minority myself. I have a lot of friends who, and my own family who are in the LGBT community. I know that this training is important, but I also know as a former teacher that I want to further my craft.
Outstanding points. Thank you so much. Tell us about who you are and your name so I can spell it correctly.
Sure.
And you are changing the world. So tell me who you are and then tell me how you're changing the world.
Yeah, so my name is David Aponte. I'm the chair of the Northern Virginia chapter of GLSEN, which is an organization dedicated to making schools safer and more affirming for LGBTQ students.
And you're telling me to ask you how you're changing the world.
Yeah, so how are we changing the world?
How are you changing the world?
It's nice like this, where we see things that students have been asking for put into motion and into actual words that can protect them. And as the school board spoke to tonight, giving them rights and really shifting the way that they view their everyday to being protected by various policies and honestly things that they've been asking for years.
And did you read the policy?
I did.
Okay. What were some of the points that jumped out at you that you were happy to see?
Yeah, I know for us, the specific naming of malicious misgendering and malicious dead naming is something that we were really fighting for. And more specifically, it's just calling out things that are specific to gender expansive and LGBT students in general. Really making sure that when they go to the school to talk about an issue that they've been facing, there are words that the school can use to carry out actions necessary to keep them protected.
Okay. Any other thoughts on what you saw here tonight?
I think this is really going to benefit, and several of the students spoke to it. This is going to benefit the wider student community, and even one of the school board members themselves said that it's going to benefit them as a parent. They'll feel hopefully more confident sending their students to schools, and really the entire community benefits when education is better and we better serve our students.
Okay. To take a look at the other side. Obviously, in the news, there's been a lot of pushback to these types of policies. We heard the gentleman up there today referring to the folks that were at the Loudoun County meeting as extremists. Your thoughts on use of that type of language for folks that perhaps disagree with this type of policy?
So I think there are a couple things to address there. One is, we know that there were extremists at the Loudoun County meeting. There were identified members of the KKK there. The KKK dropped flyers in the community that I even live in myself. And we know the identities of these extremists. So that's 100% proven. Now, as far as some of the questions go about these policies and the people who are opponents,
people that maybe are not extremists,
sure,
but are just parents that are saying, hey,
yeah,
I have questions, I have concerns, and they disagree with the policy, and they disagree with the viewpoint.
We get that. Look, we often deal in just helping people understand these things. When I got into this work, I didn't understand a majority of the terminology that I use today. So I would say to the people who oppose these policies and who have questions, ask us. We're pretty friendly people. We want to answer these questions. We want to make sure that the community understands. And we also want to make sure the community is the best that it can be for all of the members of it. So for those legitimate questions and you know, for moments where people really feel like they need to understand what students are going through and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, we're happy to have those conversations. I'd also say that the students have been asking for this for a long time. This is nothing new. It's not being forced by any political party or some malicious force. Students themselves have been looking for this kind of work for a long time, and the school board is really making good on years of promises to these students.
One of the things I'm curious about, taking a look at both sides of this, what would you say? Clearly not every student is in favor of these policies. I mean, they're going to have a broad range of viewpoints on this as well. So the idea of inclusivity and all students feeling comfortable, what would you say about a young person who doesn't feel comfortable in this type of environment, in a locker room or in a bathroom, and they don't feel comfortable with this, but they're being told by the school board that this is all about everybody feeling safe and secure, but they may not feel safe and secure. What do you have to say about that?
So what I would say in that particular situation is let's talk about why.
Okay.
Let's talk about why the student is feeling uncomfortable in the particular situation that they're in. I think we can all look back on when we were in school and use locker rooms and bathrooms and those sorts of things. I tried to get in and out of the bathroom as quickly as possible, regardless of the circumstances, and honestly just avoid it whenever possible, just because it was crowded. But I think in a lot of these situations, what ends up happening is we hear about certain things that are brought up by people who don't fully understand the situation. The locker room and bathroom is a good example of bad actors coming in and doing things just to provoke a situation or make a student uncomfortable. The reality is, in the counties that have done this before, the states that have done it before, the countries that have done it before, we just haven't seen any evidence of that happening. And I understand, it's a change in policy. Almost any change is a little bit scary at the beginning. This is why I think it's so important to explain things in detail to people, and especially at an age-appropriate way, in ways that students will understand, because this is really about making everybody more comfortable. We heard tonight one of the speakers speaking in support of these policies talked about their own experience about wearing clothes underneath their clothing so they didn't have to put themselves in an uncomfortable position as a trans person in a locker room. So in that particular situation, the trans person was more uncomfortable. So we know that it's going to change things for people. We're happy to explain these sorts of changes, but we also have to pay attention to the reality, which is that these bad actors aren't coming into bathrooms. We just haven't seen it. We've seen, if anything, trans students in the trans community being the most victimized in places that don't affirm their identity.
Very good. I want to make sure I have your name correctly spelled, and are you with an organization?
I am, yeah.
Okay, give me that too.
Yeah. So my name is David Aponte, David Aponte. and I'm with GLSEN Northern Virginia.
How do I spell it?
So that's GLSEN Northern Virginia.
GLSEN Northern Virginia.
You got it.
All right, Dave. Thank you.